You are now entering the Honeysuckle podcast.
So, good morning, Fabian. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. I gotta say, when I was doing a deep dive on Gage, I felt much more comfortable considering I'm from Michigan.
Right on.
So we'll be able to talk the D, K Zoo. We'll be able to talk all the good stuff.
Sounds great.
So why don't you introduce yourself to our audience? Give ourselves a little bit, feel for what you do and what's your world.
For sure. I mean, as you mentioned, I'm Fabian Monaco, CEO and director of Gage Cannabis. We're one of the larger vertically integrated cannabis companies in Michigan today. Have a portfolio of retail of 15 locations, have 3 cultivation assets that we operate, 11 contract growers. We have one of the larger cultivation footprint in the state of Michigan, if not the largest. And we have 3 processing assets. I've been in operation for a little under 2 years, so have grown quite quickly in a short period of time. Relatively speaking, if you take a look at the capital that we've been able to raise versus some of the larger MSOs, which is frankly in the hundreds and hundreds of millions, we've really punched well above our weight, and it's a testament to the operational team in Michigan and just obviously the 2 co-founders that have a deep connection to cannabis culture, know what people are looking for, and make my job easy.
That's awesome. So I was taking a look at your background. You come from the world of capital, banking, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, correct.
What was your first cannabis aha moment? You know what I mean, as far as business goes?
Yeah, I mean, this was a very long time ago. So I just had joined the team that brought Tweet public.
Okay.
Many years ago. So I got to work on a lot of the first of the industry. I think just it wasn't maybe an instantaneous aha moment, but just recognizing the amount of consumption, just generally, not only in, let's call it Canada or North America, the US, but frankly, worldwide, and how much, the cannabis plant played a part in people's everyday lives. I would say almost similar to alcohol, where, maybe you'll come home, have a drink, a weekend, have a couple of drinks. Obviously, cannabis was very similar in terms of that type of consumption. And it made me recognize that even some of the reports that were coming out in North America to say, well, the North American or the US market is going to be X. It was just funny. We consistently see that increase. And, the aha moment was just recognizing that, yes, some of these reports are talking big numbers, but, based on what I'm seeing, the performance at the dispensaries that I go to, across the country, this is going to be a much bigger market than people think.
Okay. And what, how do we have this Michigan connection now?
So the 2 co-founders have that connection there. One of them is born and bred in Michigan. The other one, his wife is from Michigan. So those 2 individuals, when I was more on the capital market side of things, I'd probably visited 100 or so different cultivation, processing, retail assets. And these 2 individuals just were one of the best operators that myself and my former team had seen. Again, deep connection to cannabis culture, knew what people were looking for, had a great, head on their shoulders in terms of, what it takes to grow a business from, let's call it 1 grow or a couple of dispensaries to, where we are today and where we want to go. And so for us, the Michigan market presented a unique opportunity because it was kind of flying under the radar for many years. People didn't appreciate how big the caregiver program was for over a decade now. And they had the 2nd largest medical cardholder system in North America, only behind California. And because in 2017, that medical market had started off slow, it just gave us such a great opportunity to really go in there, knowing what we knew, knowing how big and how much people consume in Michigan and how strong that medical market was, to really say to ourselves, look, Michigan may not be the top market over the next few years, but it's most definitely going to be a top 5.
Yeah, no, we were living in Detroit when they made it legal in Detroit, and it literally didn't even make national news. Detroit was just yeah, I think it was up to 3 ounces, something, you know what I mean? And yeah, and it was, I forget what year it was, but it was just everybody's just that changes nothing. You've been able to carry a pound in your backpack if you really wanted to. Like, no one's bothering you in Detroit. And then the medical has been there for a while too. And I think people really kind of slept on that whole world. And then, Michigan went legal before New York. So, I remember after the election, I called up my mom and I was like, hey, congrats on going green. And she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I was like, your state just went legal. She had no idea that happened.
That's hilarious.
So talk to me about, you said 15 locations in Michigan. What's been kind of the strategy for where, you're putting a dispensary? I mean, obviously Detroit. Are you guys in Ann Arbor or not?
No, not yet. Not yet. Been actively looking for a spot in Ann Arbor. Phenomenal area. It was kind of like the first city to have rec sales, to be honest with you, right? The first dispensary was there in the state. So really looking for an opportunity in Ann Arbor. If any of your listeners do have something in Ann Arbor, be sure to give us a shout.
For sure.
Yes, we're good.
No, go ahead. I was interested to see, what the strategy was behind the rollout.
Yeah, so, at first with the initial amount that we had, really tried to reach the majority of the population. So, 95+% of the population within a 1 hour's drive, really put most of the locations in the middle of the state, in the sense that that's where most of the population resides. Trying to get our retail portfolio to a point where we can actually access 95+% of the population, but within a 20-25 minute drive. We don't think Michigan is a place where you need to have 100 dispensaries or 80 dispensaries, similar to, let's call it, Florida, where Trulieve has now 80+ dispensaries in that particular state. We think you can have sweet spot of between 30 and 35 dispensaries, and because of the dynamic delivery that's available in Michigan, really use that as a rollout to reach more and more consumers and kind of get your same store sales continually increasing. So you'll see us probably get to in hand 20 to 25 locations by the end of this year. Our goal is to have 20 operational. The state's been a little bit slow in terms of just getting licenses over the line more recently, funny enough, but we still have decent amount of confidence that we'll be able to reach that 20 operational store count by the end of this calendar year. And then again, trying to get to that sweet spot of between 30 and 35 as quick as we can. More and more cities opt in, every day. There was a period of time where that was pretty slow in terms of the rollout. So it wasn't like there were a whole slew of places where we wanted to be, but have our eyes, wide open for some of the newer ones that have come online. That presents some great opportunities. So we'll be really patient with our retail rollout, but again, really trying to get to as much of the population in Michigan within a very, very short period of time, giving us an opportunity to really be a household name when it comes to cannabis.
Yeah. So, I have yet to be to a Gage store yet. Our trips tend to be very Christmas oriented when I'm visiting. But what would you say the idea behind your guys' retail experience, kind of the UX, that you guys got? It's very poppy, very loud, very like a street-ish culture. What was kind of the brand experience that you guys were going for?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit a couple of the points. Loud, bright colors, a warm, safe environment for people to come to. I think myself and the co-founders had been to already so many dispensaries across North America. I really tried to take the best, aspects of, what we saw. Our partners, Cookies, they run some of the nicest, best dispensaries in the country. So borrowed a lot of their positives to just, in terms of our design and how things were set up. Wasn't really necessarily one thing. I think when it comes to a dispensary, there's so many multiple aspects that go into, what makes a dispensary special. The location of the dispensary, how much parking you have, what's the size of the dispensary, how do you set up the entrance, what kind of colors you use. These are all things that we take a look at and consider when, deciding where to open a dispensary. We've been, blessed and lucky enough to win a couple of awards for our dispensaries as well. So particularly proud about that. But I think at the end of the day, really try, especially for a place like Michigan, really try to create a nice, bright, warm, and safe environment for people to come into, because you got to remember, Michigan has a refined consumer. They've been going to a dispensary now for over a decade, before the new state-run program came into play. So for us, again, it was multifaceted and kind of give you a little bit of a taste of, the things that we were looking for and what we consider when opening a dispensary.
So you mentioned cookies. I know, P.S. Congratulations on bringing cookies to Canada. Correct? That's recent news.
Yeah.
What's your guys' relationship with Cookies and Burner and their whole thing that they've got going on?
Yeah, so we're probably one of their bigger partners in North America today. Worldwide, because they are worldwide now. They have a dispensary in Israel. They're doing a bunch of stuff in Europe as well. So we started that relationship a little over 2.5 years ago. I'd kind of recognized how well Cookies was doing in California and approached them to say, hey, let's bring your brand to Michigan. So we have the exclusive rights to the Cookies brand from a cultivation, processing, and retail side of things in Michigan. And so for us, we put a little bit of faith, obviously, in their brand, and felt confident that they would perform well in the state of Michigan. We were the first partner outside of California for them, and also the first partner to open up a store outside of California. So a little bit of a chance that we took on them, but it's been paid back in spades, in the sense that we got to learn so much from basically the best. They're the Red Bull of the space, the Grey Goose vodka of the space, the Nike of the space, right? And so when you get to partner with the best, not only do you get to learn so much, but it helps elevate your brand. I like to use the example, it's similar to starting a sneaker company in Michigan, and you're the only one that can sell Nike sneakers. And then you're going to have a Nike store, and your shoes are right beside the Nike sneakers. So it's a phenomenal brand. They continue to perform exceptionally well. Their drive also to consistently innovate, have new varieties, new packaging, new artwork on their packaging is something that we also learn from and try to mimic. So I think across the board, it's been a phenomenal relationship. And as you mentioned, recently, further developed that relationship by exclusively launching Cookie stores in Canada, and then also partnering with the same cultivator in Canada that grows the Gage brand for us there. So, expanding that relationship, probably will expand that relationship further should we enter into another state. But yeah, I can't say enough positive things about that brand and the partnership that we have with them. And we continue to be one of their larger partners.
Awesome. You guys had mentioned that you're, the vertical integration. Is there any part of your operation that's looking at sun grown versus, warehouse grown?
Yeah, so I think from a perspective when it comes to concentrates and ensuring you have the proper biomass to put into your network, we partnered with an outdoor grower to grow, some of the Gage and Cookie strains outdoor. So that's in process already. That's not going to be. It is.
Awesome.
We'll be seeing that, that all that harvest come, early fall, as we all know. That will go solely into predominantly, I'd say 95% of it, into our rollout of concentrate products. So we're going to have our lab completed by the end of this quarter. I should say operational. It's already virtually completed. We're just waiting for some HVAC equipment, a little bit of COVID delivery delays, unfortunately, these days. But once that comes through, we'll have that processing asset open and up and running pretty quickly. And that'll be the start of a pretty big rollout from us as a company on the concentrate side. In Michigan, because we knew flower was such a big category for them, we only focused on flower for the better part of our existence. We sell the majority of our product on the concentrate side of things. We sell third-party product. Now we're trying to not only have that margin expansion in that particular category, but also start to roll out more and more Cookies and Gage products in those categories, as we now have our own processing asset to actually develop those products.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about social equity? I visited your guys' website and see you guys are doing a $50,000 grant. Tell me about that. It sounds like you're doing all the right things there.
Yeah, so on the social equity front, try to balance out, giving capital to somebody, but also giving them that operational support. It's one thing to just say, here, go ahead, take this amount of money. And it's another thing to actually spend the time and effort into helping somebody out. And so we try to balance those two. We have 20 $50,000 grants, actually. The third one just received their grant. So we have 3 so far, really trying to quickly get to the 20. For us, again, as I mentioned, the first particular one that we had given a grant to, someone that was incarcerated for cannabis, started his own brand, really from nothing, and grew that into a multi-million-dollar brand in roughly a year's time. Wow. And again, similar to what I mentioned earlier, gave the grant, but then also tried to showcase that brand, showcase that individual within our network. Again, we're blessed to be part of the Cookies Network and Burner and Rick Ross and their following, and Snoop and Wiz as well, where again, we have a good following as a brand and a good following from a dispensary standpoint. So try to feature that particular individual's brand within our dispensaries as well. And so that's what we try to do when we partner with individuals on the social equity side of things. It's not just about, hey, here's some money to go start your brand. Here's some capital to get you started. And then more importantly, let us help you introduce you to our network so that you get the advantages of, a company that spent, multi-millions to build itself up. But again, you don't necessarily have to do that in the sense that you get to already have that access. And operationally too, wherever we can help out from an operational standpoint, we're there. We're happy to help.
That's awesome. And if I was in Michigan and I was in the cannabis space and I was needing grant money, who is encouraged to apply for the grant?
To be honest with you, everyone's kind of encouraged to apply. We are constantly reviewing applicants. We have our kind of own portal set up on the social equity side for the grants, and go through kind of a process where, okay, we'll try to also not do too many of these like quickly, mainly because we want to spend the time and effort into the individual that we actually give the grant to. And so we'll have these time periods where we'll have certain application windows where people can apply. And we spend the time, we go through the process, reviewing the applications, we'll let down to a couple of people, and then, choose an individual or an entity to actually give the grant to. So to be honest, people are encouraged to apply on an ongoing basis. We're constantly on the lookout for, for a new entity to roll in. And keep in mind too, just also gives us access to individuals that, again, most likely have been part of the cannabis industry historically, and have, again, deep industry connections, deep culture connections in cannabis, and even allows us to learn sometimes, some of the individuals and the products that they're thinking about, especially the first individual we gave to, I think he was the first one to have diamonds in the state of Michigan. Again, it makes us look good as well. So we constantly kind of push that initiative and are on the lookout. So people are always encouraged to apply on an ongoing basis.
Awesome. Any Michigan specific strains you guys have or are planning?
To be honest, we are constantly on the hunt to find top-notch quality flower. Flower is so key in Michigan, as I mentioned earlier. We are constantly trying to find even dedicated wholesale partners. So we'll go out there, go to a specific Michigan grower that's really cultivated his own kind of flavors of flower, and try to showcase those and partner with that individual to have a new Gage strain. So I would say, that's like an ongoing thing, to be honest with you. We are not sitting on our hands when it comes to flower variety. Right now, I would say in our first quarter, we had about, 10 to 12 flavors in the mix. Now we have close to 30, not all at the same time, obviously. It's just a little harder to do that. But, I'd say within a given quarter, you'll see 30 different flavors of product on our shelves. Sometimes even more, actually. We're really ramping that up. So again, always on the lookout for cultivation partners, individuals or entities that are coming out with just, top-notch quality flower that we could potentially partner with them to jointly create a new Gage strain.
And you were talking about the Michigan market loving flower. Is there any specific kind of breakdown of that market? Is this a market that loves haze? Is this a market that loves an indica, sativa? Like, how would you break down the flower that is flying off the shelves for you guys?
Yeah, I would say there's no real kind of set. Um, yeah, there's really no kind of set category, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? It's kind of, we just seen a lot of strength every time you put on a new, or you put forth a new variety. You pheno hunt and you cross this with that, and you introduce that to the market. There just seems to be a continual appetite for flower generally. We haven't really seen any bifurcation of, oh, they're really liking this or they're really liking that. It's more just that key focus on variety, and that consumer, because they're such a refined consumer, saying to themselves, okay, wow, I really liked your blueberry cream waffle and your banana bread, and so, oh, you cross those two. Oh, okay, let me try this new flavor, whatever we end up calling it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no real set. It's like, hey, it's 10% this, 20% this, 30% this. We see it fluctuate on a monthly basis.
And who gets to name the strains, and how do I get that job?
I mean, I think the main co-founder just has a knack. Mike has a knack for coming up with these names. I don't even know how he comes up with these names, but they it's actually mainly him. It's mainly one individual, and the other co-founder that come up with these names. For that job, probably say you have to be an employee in our cultivation department, and so I'd welcome that as well.
That's awesome. And to round things out,
I'll have a question.
Okay, Ronnie's got a question at the end. My last question for you is, do you have a favorite strain right now?
Favorite strain right now, it's been one that we've had quite a bit, but I'd say the Funfetti cake. Yeah, the Funfetti cake has been really, really good. I encourage anybody listening that if you come to a Gage store, make sure you get your hands on a bag of 8 of Funfetti cake, because it's top notch.
Okay, that's great to know. Ro.
Oh yeah. Hi, Fabian. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Did I detect an accent? Do you have?
It's from Canada, I think.
Me?
No.
No. Yeah.
European accent. No.
I mean, my family's Italian, but maybe that's what's coming out.
Okay, maybe. So my question is, because Honeysuckle was actually founded in Detroit, and I know that they had a lot of controversy just with a lot of, places getting closed or raided, and they have such a legacy of marijuana or cannabis consumption in the culture. How is the kind of production flow and the staff and the actual, people running the shops and dealing with the plant? Like, is it distinct in Detroit, would you say, than other places?
I mean, funny enough, we don't have any cultivation assets in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit doesn't have cultivation at all. Our assets are in Harrison, which is, I don't know, 15 minutes away from Detroit, and then also Warren, which is again pretty close. To be honest, I don't really see any differences per se, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I was curious.
No problem.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice meeting you as well. Thank you.
And have you had a chance to sample the beer and pizza of Michigan while you're there?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I know. I've sampled quite a bit of it, but like for me, I'm big on the food, as I just mentioned. My background is Italian, so the favorite thing I like to do in the world is eat. So yeah, I've tried it all.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Detroit style pizza is fantastic.
Yeah, it really
stuff. It's almost like a focaccia, which is what we call it in Italian. It's like a thicker kind of pizza based, bread based type of thing to eat.
Yeah, I think outside of New York and Chicago, Detroit's just a real sleeper for really, or Michigan in general, but Detroit specifically, really, really excellent pizza.
Totally agree.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much for your time. It was great to get kind of a deep dive on what you're doing with Gage and all of the economic growth we're bringing to Michigan. I think that's what a lot of people so often gets left out from the conversation is the people who grow weed, they're farmers. You're supporting farmers. And then the people who are working at those facilities have a job. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
more economic diversity that's not the big three or related to the big three. You know what I mean? That it's really bringing great stuff into Michigan. So thanks for bringing
Yeah,
it to the home state, and you know what I mean. Let's see more expansion, more everything.
most definitely. And make sure when you're in Michigan, you come by a Gage or a cookie store and give me a heads up.
For sure. Yeah. We'll let you know.
Alrighty, awesome. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Yep. Thank you very much. Talk to you later.
Have a great day. See you.
Thanks, guys.